basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast.
NBA, some college.
Okay, time for our weekly review of Celtics City, the Bill Simmons documentary on the history of the Boston Celtics that appears on HBO Max on Mondays. And we are brought to you by PrizePicks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with PrizePicks. Bob, it just gets better and better, huh?
This thing was jam-packed, episode 5. And, I was really looking forward to it because it was going to deal with the Lakers rivalry and the 84 finals and 85 finals, etc. And 86, so it's a great meaty period. The height of Bird, the height of the big three. God love our great friend Bill Walton is in there, and priceless commentary. But priceless commentary from several people: McHale-Parish, Cedric Maxwell. There's a lot of stuff unpacked in this one. I got a lot of notes here, and we might as well say that the whole racial thing is going to be a theme. The Boston. A lot of talk about what Boston was as a city, the perception of Boston at the time, how the Lakers and Celtics reflected that, and it's and hearing from some people that lived through it, that like Robert. Robert is really important here. Robert makes an allusion to Spike Lee's movie "Do the Right Thing," and they have a great clip from there. For the people who didn't see it, I recommend you seek it out. It's very worth, because if you have interest in this whole topic. It's really interesting. It's a great. It's my favorite Spike Lee movie, but that's obvious. So, but it's really good. It's in there. There's all kinds of stuff in here, but we learned about why Robert was withheld his participation when Larry and Dr. J got into it, because he was pissed at Larry. Larry had not supported him in a contract issue prior to that the season. Interesting, and. There they go. He didn't want to participate in that. So that we got. So that I can go there.
I think also if I may interject, Dan Shaughnessy said it. Where he said, "Look," he goes, "race is a factor in this town." James Worthy told the story. I mean, how can it not be? Right, James Worthy. They're staying at the hotel. Dan admitted. He said, "I shouldn't have put the hotel in the newspaper." Right.
Yeah,
the Lakers were staying, and Worthy gets a phone call, and the guy does the whole thing, and then calls him the N-word or whatever.
And the N-word going to be.
Yeah, I mean, how does that not? I mean, that of course, the city's going to have that reputation, but like Quinn Buckner said, and like Worthy said, and like Parish said, it's not the whole city. It's
of course not. We know it's a few, but because of the national notoriety that had. In the previous decade with the whole busing thing, that Boston sustained to this day. We know that there were baseball players who didn't want to get traded to Boston. That we know that. We know that there have been clauses in contracts about no trade to Boston among African American athletes. I hope it's done. We don't know for sure. We hope it's done. But that Boston earned that, unfortunately, and that becomes. They're not shying away from this issue in this thing. It's not the whole story, but it's part of the story, and it has to be part of the story. One of the things I loved, there was so many little tidbits. Worthy talking about Larry and in reference to the Dr. J thing, and there's been different stories told about what happened that night, and including that Larry wasn't saying anything. It was ML that was doing the trash talking. But here's the fact. The fact. At the moment of the fight, Larry had 42 points in only the third quarter, and Dr. J had 6. And somebody was going 42-6. I'm sure Larry didn't know how many points he had. But Worthy talked about Larry's trash talking. And he calls Larry the a-hole. He calls him an asshole and says, and he knows why, quote unquote. That's what Worthy says about Larry. That's one I never heard before, okay? That he's calling Larry an asshole and saying he knows why. So that's part of the fun. That was unearthed in this. They got that one out. Worthy's enjoying himself in this whole thing. I can tell you that. So.
Well, yeah, because the thing about Bird that we're learning and why I enjoy these is that we're getting to see these heroes as people, right? And again,
No.
I know it's kind of, but you know, where Larry isn't perfect, Michael Jordan wasn't perfect. I mean, Bob Gibson,
Right.
Bob Gibson wasn't perfect. A lot of Yaz wasn't perfect. They do one thing well. I mean, and even when Larry said that thing about Parish, when Parish wanted more money, he says, "Oh, we could probably get somebody else." But as you have pointed out in the past, but Larry would never hesitate to give the ball to Robert. Larry could have just been saying that thing off the top of his head. But it's kind of a dick thing to say. I mean, Larry could be a prickly dude.
It wasn't. No, I was surprised. I don't remember it, but it's there. We saw it. It happened. They got the clip, so he did it. And no, it was a bad thing. It wasn't the right thing to say, and it was. He should have known better. And as I said later on, I think he certainly demonstrated his fidelity to Robert as a player. So anyway, yeah. Now another guy in there there's another incident. How Max reacts to the 1985 when he got hurt and couldn't play.
Right.
And he basically says that they rushed him back to get him into the finals, to get him into the playoffs.
Right.
And he wasn't ready. And he referenced something that I'm responsible for, which is Larry saying that Max didn't want to play for them anymore. And I said that, and I'm the one, I was at Larry's house in French Lick, Indiana, to do a story on his younger brother, Eddie, who was then in high school. And I wanted to do a story on the younger brother and what it's like to be Eddie Bird, and how good he is, but what it's like to be him and all that. And I was in Larry's house talking to his mom, and he called up to say hi to Mom, a Saturday afternoon. I'll never forget it. And Larry and I got talking, and he said, and I quote, "Bob, Max doesn't want to play for us anymore," unquote, which I have reported over the years. Max, of course, refutes this in the doc, naturally. I mean, I'm just saying, Max said, "No, that's not true." And he was really wounded by the trade when he was traded. He was,
right.
Max really was. And of course, Max is forever associated with the Celtics. And as you may have pointed out in time, it's nice that the younger generation who only know Max as a color commentator, have to be reminded how important role Max plays in Celtic history. The numbers up there. Let's remember that. His numbers up there, and rightfully so. And he was the MVP in the '81 finals. I voted for him. People think I didn't vote for him, by the way, but I did. They would at the time. People thought I was suck up to Larry that I wouldn't vote for Max. So I did. Believe me, he deserved it. His game 5 saved that series. And by the way, Max had a huge game 5 to get 28, and that was a 2-2 coming home. Very always an important game in the 7-game series. Anyway, Max refutes the idea that he didn't want to play for the Celtics anymore, and so he was wounded by that trade.
Boy, but that '84 series against Rambus, and you had mentioned he didn't get enough credit in the doc.
He didn't get enough credit in the doc at all. There's an allusion to having a good game, but the whole story, and it's not myth, it's not folklore. The fact is that Max addressed the team in the locker room to words to this effect: "Jump on my back, boys," or words to that effect. But that was the gist of it. And he went out and he trashed Worthy. And they went to Larry. Of course, Larry was the feeder. Larry,
right.
Not the point guard. They didn't really have a point guard because DJ was never a point guard. He was a manufactured, 2.5. And it was wonderful. I love DJ. Don't roll, but they got away with DJ as a point guard because they had Larry. And Larry was the offense revolved around Larry. He could feed the post, and they were feeding Max, and Max was doing his number to the tune of 24 points, and that was one of his 2 crowning moments. It'll be in the '81 and the game 5. But absolutely, they don't give him enough credit in the doc, and that's a shame.
All right, I do want to ask you about Gerald Henderson coming up, but first I have to tell you about PrizePicks, the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings. PrizePicks is more daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long. with PrizePicks. And on PrizePicks, you can mix and match player projections from different sports, combine your favorite baseball players with players from basketball, hockey, esports, and much more. PrizePicks offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday each Tuesday. So, what's going to happen this week on PrizePicks? Aaron Judge, more or less than a couple home runs, or Julio Rodriguez, 2 or more stolen bases. And the second half of the basketball season is here. The push to the playoffs is heating up on PrizePicks. It is the best place to cash in on your favorite sports, and it's simple, more or less. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Okay, what went through your mind when Gerald Henderson was traded?
Came out of nowhere.
Right.
And came out of nowhere at the time. Stunned. And couldn't project how it could work out. That the Sonics would finish badly enough that the Celtics would wind up with a number 2 pick in the draft. I guess it was done with that in mind. I wasn't at that point when that was done. I wasn't on the beat yet. I came back in '86. That was earlier. Well, that was '85, '86. I don't know. It was what? Well, I wasn't. I don't think I was on the beat yet. But anyway, I was stunned. That's all. And I love Gerald, and we all love Gerald. But it turned out to be an incredibly prescient thing. Leading into the whole bias thing, which which is a whole other story, and how the doc ends. A couple of points. So that's the story there. Before we get to the doc at the end, just a couple of points that I think I want to make here. Backing up, the McHale-Parish deal in the draft day in '80.
Right.
Okay. And the great quote, and they got read on camera saying it, and I quote read, "This is the first draft I was smiling before the draft." That he knew he was going to get bias. He knew the 76ers were going to take Brad Daugherty, right, or the Cleveland, or whatever. And he was going to get bias, and he was over the moon about getting bias. I personally had seen bias in Cameron Indoor Stadium drop 40 points on Duke. I don't know what I was doing there that night. I have no idea. Now, but I was there. I was doing something, and I saw him. He got my attention that night, I can tell you that. I think he would have been not the Michael Magic, Larry, LeBron level. I think he would have been the next level of superstar. I call the worthy level. James Worthy. He would have been made the All-Star game every year, going to go to the Hall of Fame. Perennial All-Star, no question. Okay, so that's one thing I loved. There was a Red saying, "This is the first draft I was smiling before the draft," and that's pretty good. The other thing, Game 6 in '86, and of course we got a quote from Danny about '86, by the way, and he says, "As special a team as there's ever been in the NBA." That's Danny recently saying that about, for the benefit of the doc, about that team. Okay, and that's interesting. But there's a reference to Game 6. You can't exaggerate how great Larry was that day. It's not like they're gargantuan numbers. It was a triple double, but the impact, Gary, he was never more impactful in defense. He seemed to be everywhere. He was everywhere. He was anticipating passing lanes. He even got a jump ball on Olajuwon. How the hell did he do that? He stole the tap. I don't know, but he did. And he was never more omniscient omnipresent, should I say, than he was that day in the '80s. If you want to see how basketball can be played by a human being in every phase of the game and affect it, then you want to get '86 Game 6 Larry Bird. I don't care. You can talk about Michael. You can talk about Magic. You can talk about LeBron. You can talk about any non-center, including Jokic right now, and they didn't play the game any better than Larry Bird played on that Game 6 in '86. That's my contention.
Are you able to give an opinion or make a call on the '86 team if they had played the Lakers in the finals?
Yeah, I think they would. Well, I think the greatest series that never was the '86 Celtics against the '87 Lakers.
Oh.
And the '87 Lakers were great, but the '87 Celtics didn't have Walton.
Right.
the 87 Lakers did have Kupchak. And that's the greatest series pre 3-point shot. The series I want to see that one, but the one I really want to see in my afterlife is the 86 Celtics against the best Warriors team, whichever one they want to call the best Warriors team.
Yeah.
And because of and I say this, the Celtics could shoot the three. The Warriors, who's going to guard McHale? Not you, Draymond. I got news for you.
Right.
By the way, I got a tidbit. Where is it? Oh, damn it. I'll save it for future reference.
There you go. But that's a tease.
I got a Warriors tidbit that they're going to love in Golden State.
Do you when did Larry start to have back issues? Or
Larry, elbow back.
Was that
88? 80. No, even earlier, I think. Maybe 86, 87. No, no. December of 87 is when he got in a great shape, best shape he'd ever been in.
Right, I remember. He had the haircut. He lost like 20 pounds.
Yeah, best shape he'd ever been in. But it somewhere in the late 80s, and then of course he had the heel. He missed almost the whole season, and it was always something. Now after a while, this last 4 years where is he healthy enough? And what drove him crazy was when he was out and he couldn't practice. He loved it. He thought practice was very important. None of that Allen Iverson stuff. He really loved to practice and thought it was very, 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 very important, and that really impacted him.
Other than yourself being in this series, what is your favorite part of it?
Oh, well, how about that? I'll tell you, it was, some really fun people. The personalities, the people that we are seeing express themselves and having their say. Like Spencer Hayward was terrific, and of course anything with Walton. Robert, I love having Robert involved. I'm really enjoying Robert, and
I love Max, because Max has talked to me anyways. But I love the fact that Max getting a lot of FaceTime. I love the fact that Robert's getting a lot of FaceTime. You mentioned this before. Quinn Buckner's unbelievable.
Oh, well, he's wonderful. He's so smart. He's the guy Larry Bird looked up to tremendously, and absolutely. Quinn Buckner's a special guy. He really is. And his part in Indiana history and Bob Knight history. Quinn Buckner was. I remember first found out about him. Celtics were playing in Chicago, and he got a award. He was a two-sport. He was a very good high school defensive back, and he was a great high school football player, an All-American high school. So they gave him an award, the best local high school athlete. That's the first time I heard of this kid, Quinn Buckner. But anyway, yeah, he's well worth hearing from. He's always got something intelligent to say.
I think he's one of the stars because he just kind of says this is the way it is, whether it's about race or whether it's about the game or whether it's about it. And I'll wrap this up. The one part I do enjoy, the fact that Riley would have a nervous breakdown before playing the Celtics. I mean, this guy with the slick back hair and cool and calm was out of his mind.
Riley famously said, they don't have it quoted in here yet, that there's winning and misery. And he talked about losing, but then again, we have Jerry West. It scares you.
Oh, yeah, West is on.
It freaks you. And I knew him, and I knew of this side of him, but to hear him, look at him, and hear him talk about losing the way he did, and how the series against the Celtics in the '60s affected him, and his whole outlook on life. Honest to God, terrifying. Now, I mean, I know there's a category of athletes and coaches that hate losing more than they enjoy winning. We're all aware of that, but nobody to the disproportionate extent that I've experienced more than Jerry West, that could not enjoy winning anywhere near as much as he despaired losing. Just
a lot of darkness.
And winning was okay. Now I'm not sad. That's all it meant. It didn't mean I'm exhausted. It means now I'm no longer sad. I mean, that's scary. But he went through life that way. Read his autobiography. Oh my God. It's the darkest autobiography I've ever read.
Well, and also Jerry West, in my opinion, should get the credit for creating the Lakers of the 80s, because he said, I'm not going to coach this team.
He wasn't a great coach. He had that.
But he knew it.
No, and he knew it. Oh, no. The Lakers in the 80s, and the Lakers for a period of time were the model sports franchise. The owner owned, the GM GM'd, and the coach coached.
Right.
And the players played. And the GM did not interfere with the owner did not interfere with the coach. He gave him the financial wherewithal, with the GM. Jerry Buss was an excellent owner. Jerry West was a very prescient GM. Riley was an excellent coach. And the key players, were there with Kareem and Magic and Worthy and Scott and all those guys, and Cooper, the wonderful Michael Cooper, a terrific guy. So no, they were a model franchise. Yeah, absolutely.
Bob, always a pleasure. We will do this again next week. This edition of Bob Ryan, Gary Tanguay talking about Celtics City, brought to you by PrizePicks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less.